Edgar Cayce, the American clairvoyant often called the sleeping prophet, left a legacy of readings that, when interpreted through a modern lens, appear to light up a handful of zodiac signs for notable financial openings in 2026. Imagine a year in which timing, inner readiness, and concrete action align like the hands of a clock. Not a guarantee of sudden riches, but the arrival of windows where effort, vision, and prudence are amplified. According to readings attributed to Edgar Cayce and the scholars who have studied them, 2026 could be that kind of year for certain signs, a series of moments that reward clarity, courage, and disciplined generosity. The image to hold at the start is simple. Wealth here is not just numbers in a bank app. Wealth means new streams of income, systems that pay you while you sleep, earned influence, creative projects that become sustainable enterprises, and the felt sense of security that lets you make wiser, bolder choices. In the view of interpreters of Cayce's readings, the signs named in this forecast may find these kinds of openings more accessible in 2026, provided they match outer opportunity with inner readiness. Who was Cayce, and why does his voice matter here? Edgar Cayce was a 20th century American clairvoyant whose trance readings addressed health, spiritual development, and future trends. He spoke while in states of deep relaxation, offering images, timings, and recommendations that later generations have interpreted. The language of prophecy is always interpretive. What one reader hears, another frames differently. So throughout this forecast, assume a careful stance. These are interpretations of Cayce's readings, not definitive promises. Think of them as a map of seasonal currents, where the tide is likely to rise and where you might anchor to make the most of it. If you're wondering what exactly to expect in this long-form forecast, we'll walk through each sign with a clear window of months to watch, the kinds of opportunities likely to appear, the inner attitudes that convert those openings into lasting gains, and concrete precautions to keep you from mistaking momentum for immunity. After the quick roadmap, you'll be able to skip ahead to your sign. If you want that, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Timestamps are below so you can jump to the segment that concerns you most. Before we move into the signs, one clear sentence that must be said. This is an interpretation of Cayce's readings, not financial advice. Treat what follows as guidance and inspiration. Consult a qualified financial professional before making major investments or legal commitments. Aries, turn heat into harvest. February to April is your ignition. If you're an Aries, imagine early spring as a furnace that suddenly finds its mold.
According to readings attributed to Edgar Cayce and the pattern interpreters have drawn from them, February through April of 2026 gives you ignition, bold initiatives, public attention, and high-velocity chances that reward decisiveness. Then, between May and August, opportunities that feel experimental may begin proving their durability, and by September, certain investments or commitments could start showing returns. Types of opportunities to expect: leadership positions that convert into paid roles, ventures where your personal brand is the product, early-stage investments that need a champion, collaborations in which you lead the vision. The energy favors the pushers, those who volunteer to go first. Inner attitude required: controlled courage. Impulse without contract clarity will drain you. Courage here is not mere bravado. It's the willingness to name terms, to insist on clarity in agreements, and to do the necessary homework on partners. Where many Aries are tempted to sprint, the real gain comes from converting speed into stability. Brief the legal side, set milestones, and record responsibilities in writing. Practical tips: before signing anything that promises rapid upside, ask for a project timeline, a budget breakdown, and a clause that defines deliverables. Build a small reserve so that a sudden pivot doesn't force a desperate sale. Invest time in delegation. Hire or partner with someone who completes what you start. Give deliberately. Generosity both lubricates social capital and reminds you why you're building. Caveat: avoid deals that ask you to move now or miss out, especially when the terms are vague. Speed may be your ally, but haste without documentation is your foe. Imagine this. A young architect named Matteo launches a pop-up design studio in March. His charisma draws immediate clients. Rather than rush into every contract, he drafts a flexible retainer, tests one high-visibility collaboration, and uses the May momentum to convert short gigs into a subscription-based design service. By September, passive income begins to outpace one-off fees. The pattern? Heat plus structure equals harvest. Taurus, stability becomes strategy. January through March sets the network. May is the move month. For Taurus, Cayce's interpreters point to a year of scaling what already works. Early year contacts, conversations, referrals, and introduction at a small conference may trigger an accumulation process.
These are the months where steady patience meets catalytic connection. May turns several small seeds into visible investments or expansion plans, and the summer feels like harvest if you maintain discipline. Types of opportunities: partnerships that enable scaling, real estate or business investments with slow and steady returns, monetizing craft or artisanal skills, the strategic hiring that allows you to produce more without burning out. Inner attitude required: discipline married to openness.
Taurus strength is endurance. In 2026, endurance tempered by willingness to let others in amplifies outcomes. If you hoard control, scalability suffers. If you surrender without structure, you lose stability. Practical tips: document your processes, inventory, client onboarding, pricing tiers. If you decide to bring on partners or investors in May, get clear co-founder agreements or shareholder arrangements. Consider establishing a reserve that covers 6 months of operating expenses before accepting expansion scale obligations. Caveat: resist fast money pitches that promise outsized returns for vague involvement. Your advantage is compounding consistency, not gambling. Picture a small chocolatier named Leela, who after 3 years of local success receives an introduction to a regional distributor in February. She resists the impulse to chase every placement and instead uses March to draft distribution protocols and price adjustments. By May, she signs a carefully staged pilot. Summer sales grow steadily, and she invests in a simple automation system to handle orders. The result is slower but sustainable growth, exactly the sort of prosperity Cayce's interpreters see for Taurus. Gemini, your words become currency. January through April, clarity. July-August steadies the idea. Gemini's 2026 shows a season where verbal capital, content, and nimble communication transform into tangible income. Interpreters of Cayce's readings suggest that the first part of the year offers clarity, opportunities to speak, write, or launch ideas that test quickly. Spring accelerates these tests, and by July-August, a major idea may secure steady returns. Types of opportunities: publishing and content deals, coaching and courses, speaking engagements, licensing of concepts, monetized newsletters or podcasts. Inner attitude required: disciplined creativity. The challenge for Gemini is to move beyond novelty and structure the idea for scale. That means taking an initial spark and converting it into a repeatable product or system. Practical tips: when an offer arrives, think in terms of templates. Can this talk become a course? Can these articles be repurposed into a book? In the rush of early offers between January and April, set aside time to draft a simple business model, revenue streams, pricing, and a content calendar. Protect intellectual property, register trademarks where appropriate, and consider simple contracts for collaborative launches. Caveat: avoid treating every new offer as permanent income. The curiosity that makes you magnetic, and also scatter resources. Preserve gains by putting a portion into a reserve and by automating follow-ups. Small example: a freelance writer named Hannah is invited to speak at a virtual summit in February. She converts the presentation into a short course and offers a bundled resource in April. A licensing inquiry arrives in July for a serialized newsletter.
Hannah's early discipline to systemize turns a flurry of offers into a steady revenue flow. Cancer. Emotional honesty becomes stable revenue. January through April, opportunities in care and family business. July challenges boundaries. Fall investments consolidate gains. Cancer signs often find that vulnerability and service become capital. In 2026, Cayce's interpreters indicate that sincerity, not oversharing, translates to trust that others will pay for. Early in the year, opportunities may arise in fields tied to care, hospitality, coaching, and family enterprises. July tests boundary setting. By autumn, judicious investments or reinvestments can secure the payoff. Types of opportunities: family business scaling, caregiving enterprises, therapeutic or creative practices that pivot to products, hospitality ventures. Inner attitude required: clear boundaries and professionalization. The big trap for Cancer is trying to make every relationship informal. In 2026, convert care into commerce by creating contract terms, service tiers, and payment structures that honor emotional labor. Practical tips: when a client or family member wants help, outline the scope, expected outcomes, and fees. Package services into tiers so that personal favorites don't become the default. Consider legal protection for family ventures. Simple operating agreements prevent emotional blowups from destroying value. Caveat: generosity is powerful, but unchecked generosity can erode sustainability. Don't confuse compassion with open-ended risk. If you are investing emotional labor into a business, pay yourself first. Example: a caregiver turned entrepreneur named Rosa begins the year offering private consulting for elder care planning. Early contracts in March prompt her to create a subscription model for ongoing support. July brings a demand search that tests her limits. By then, she hires an assistant and formalizes a referral fee structure. By fall, her business has transformed from ad hoc work into a predictable practice. Leo, stage year. Charisma converts to brand success. Feb-March first fruits. April, a risky move could pay off. August requires delegation, consolidation by year-end. Leos are often the sign of visibility and leadership. According to readings attributed to Edgar Cayce, 2026 offers Leos the stage. The early months provide the first fruits of attention. April is a high-risk, high-reward window where bold gambles might open doors. Summer brings expansion that requires an ability to let go. By the end of the year, a more sustainable structure is possible. Types of opportunities: personal branding deals, entertainment or media ventures, leadership roles that expand your platform, premium product launches. Inner attitude required: generosity plus structure. Your shine attracts resources. To convert attention into lasting wealth, build teams and systems that carry the work when you step into the spotlight.
Practical tips. In the weeks when demand surges, have contractual templates ready for appearances and collaborations. Prioritize roles and responsibilities so that when August pressure mounts, you can delegate without losing brand control. Use revenue from initial wins to fund systems, CRM tools, production help, or an operations manager. Caveat: beware of ego-driven decisions that trade long-term control for short-term fame. If a deal asks you to cede ownership of your brand or IP for a momentary spotlight, weigh it carefully. Illustration. Jonah, an independent filmmaker, gets a favorable review in February that brings new project offers. In April, he's presented with a gamble: sell partial rights for a rapid release. He negotiates a revenue-sharing deal that preserves creative control, and in August, he hires a production manager to scale. By December, he shifted from one-off gigs to a branded series with steady licensing income. Virgo. Precision and systems yield steady wealth. Jan-Feb organization creates momentum. May-June decisive investment. Autumn harvest. Avoid overworking. For Virgo, 2026 rewards method. Cayce's interpreters suggest that early year organization creates a snowball. When you tidy processes and set measurement, the work begins to compound. May-June offer decisive moments for investments in systems, software, training, or a small capital injection that allow for multiplied output. The harvest, if you maintain balance, appears in autumn. Types of opportunities: efficiency-based consulting, productivity tools, B2B services, scaling operations that reward precision. Inner attitude required: patience and delegation. Virgo's impulse is to perfect every detail, but long-term wealth requires entrusting parts of the machine to others. Practical tips: map your workflow and identify the 3 tasks that consume most time. Automate or delegate them. If an investment opportunity appears in May-June, run a simple return on investment scenario and set contingency limits. Make sure you record processes in step-by-step form so others can learn them quickly. Caveat: perfectionism can become paralysis. Avoid trading scalability for illusion of control. Put limits on weekly work hours to prevent burnout and ensure perspective. Example: Priya, who runs a small logistics consultancy, spends January refining proposal templates and onboarding checklists. By May, she invests in a simple project management tool. By June, she's able to double client capacity without hiring more staff. Autumn's contracts then arrive with less friction, and the increased capacity becomes a platform for passive income through template licensing. Libra. Partnership and harmony bring social ascension. Networking early in the year, April to May, first results, summer stability, possible large agreement in September. Libra's fortune in 2026, as read by Cayce's interpreters, lies in alignment with partners, with public image, with the harmonizing of resources. Early networking contacts seed collaborations. April-May reveal the first tangible gains. Summer consolidates them. September could offer a signature agreement that elevates status. Types of opportunities: strategic partnerships, collaborative ventures, contract negotiations that increase visibility, roles that marry diplomacy with entrepreneurship. Inner attitude required: intentional reciprocity. Libra's natural diplomacy is an asset when paired with clear boundaries and equitable terms. The ability to negotiate with fairness and firmness will be rewarded. Practical tips: document partnership roles. Insist on periodic review points within collaboration agreements. Make reciprocity concrete: profit sharing, defined responsibilities, and exit clauses. When September talks arrive, consult a professional to ensure the agreement preserves long-term control. Caveat: avoid getting dependent on a single charismatic partner. Balance your network so relationships are mutually reinforcing, not lopsided. Illustration: 2 designers, Amina and Claire, connect in February. By April, they pilot a joint collection. Sales stabilize in July, and in September, they're offered a larger distribution deal. Their careful partnership agreement, drafted early, preserves both creative control and joint profits, turning a friendship into an engine for sustainable growth. At this midpoint, 3 themes are already clear. Momentum favors those who prepare. Generosity lubricates opportunity, but must be bracketed by contracts to preserve sustainability. And systems are the mechanism that turns seasonal openings into lasting income. As we move deeper into the zodiac, the pattern will repeat with different textures. Scorpio's intensity, Sagittarius's expansion, Capricorn's discipline, Aquarius's innovation, and Pisces' intuitive creativity, each offering a distinct way for inner readiness and timing to connect. Yet even with these themes, caution remains essential. Interpreters of Cayce's readings emphasize discernment. Not every surge is a sustainable stream, and not every flattering offer is a reliable partner. The following practical checklist applies regardless of sign. Audit contracts, create a reserve equal to 3 to 6 months of operating expense when possible, and build simple systems that let you reproduce success without sacrificing health or control. This is a forecast of potential, not a promise. In the next sections, the chart will turn towards transformation and scale, signs where reinvention and global reach become available if approached with the same blend of courage and discipline.
Scorpios will face the invitation to convert upheaval into power. Sagittarius will be called to take bold outward steps that could open larger markets. Capricorn's long-game discipline will be rewarded with structures that outlast fads. Aquarius will find the moment to commercialize innovation. Pisces may discover that quiet intuition becomes a steady tide. But those are the turns the calendar will reveal soon, and each will come with its own timing, tactics, and warnings. For now, hold the core questions with you. What systems will you put in place before the window opens? Who will protect your time and your ownership? Where will you practice generosity as a strategy rather than a vulnerability? Those answers will determine whether a momentary rise becomes a foothold for long-term prosperity. As we prepare to examine Scorpio and the signs that follow, remember the one line that must remain true. This reading is an interpretation of Edgar Cayce's readings, and while suggestive, should be balanced by professional advice and practical caution. If you found patterns here that speak to your circumstances, keep a small notebook and mark the months you most want to act in. Then pair those intentions with clear agreements and a reserve fund. The chart favors those who are emotionally ready to act and technically prepared to protect. Soon we will turn to the signs where transformation sharpens into leverage, where travel and markets expand horizons, and where the slow work of empire building begins to bear fruit. Each of those sections will map months to moves, show you what to watch for, and offer the tactical steps that convert timing into a durable foundation. The current edge of the year's promise is visible. The deeper currents are just ahead. Scorpio, turn upheaval into leverage. Early year restart, spring explosion, July-August peak, autumn scaling. For Scorpio, 2026 may read like a rebirth. Interpreters of Edgar Cayce's readings suggest early months act as a reset. Opportunities arrive that require letting go of what no longer serves. This is fertile ground for transformation, but the work is interior as much as external. If you meet the inner clearing with focused action, those ruptures can become the foundation of a new financial architecture. Types of opportunities: buying or restructuring ownership in distressed assets, leadership roles and turnarounds, strategic acquisitions, investments that require emotional courage, licensing deals that convert secrecy into value, inner attitude required, disciplined surrender. Scorpio's strength is resilience. In 2026, resilience looks like the willingness to discard comfortable identities and to negotiate from a place of steady purpose. That means engaging with the numbers even while you hold a larger vision. Transparency with partners about expectations, compensation, and governance will be crucial.
Practical tips. Before pursuing any high-stakes restructuring or acquisition, assemble a small advisory circle, someone versed in tax, a pragmatic operator, and a level-headed negotiator. Run 3 stress scenarios on any purchase: best case, median, and worst case cash flow. Set exit thresholds early so you avoid doubling down on sunk costs. Protect intellectual property and ownership percentages in writing. If a deal promises dramatic upside but lacks clear milestones, ask for phased payments tied to deliverables. Caveat: avoid trading long-term ownership for short-term rescue capital unless the terms preserve future upside. Scorpios can be seduced by control regained at the cost of real equity. Insist on transparent cap tables and vesting schedules. Illustration: Marina, who once led a boutique analytics firm, faces a crossroads in February when a larger player offers a lifeline but asks for 60% control. Instead of an emotional yes, she negotiates staged milestones that restore majority ownership within 2 years and insists on a buyback clause tied to revenue thresholds. By August, her firm has doubled revenue through a rebranded product line while retaining its strategic autonomy. The transformation came from refusing to accept a single desperate narrative and instead mapping several patient options. Sagittarius, expand the map. January through March contacts and travel. Summer pivot validates strategy. Autumn begins a longer cycle. Sagittarius in 2026 may experience openings that require outward movement.
Interpreters of Cayce's readings often associate Sagittarian vitality with journeys and broadening horizons. This year, travel, study, or cross-border partnerships could catalyze sizable opportunities. The momentum begins with movement, a conference, a posting, a cross-cultural collaboration, and the summer pivot will separate experiments that sustain from those that merely entertain. Types of opportunities: international collaborations, exportable services, licensing across markets, education to product conversions, speaking circuits that open client funnels in other geographies. Inner attitude required: strategic curiosity. Sagittarius must temper enthusiasm with due diligence. Curiosity brings the ideas, strategy converts them. That means validating demand before scaling, testing pricing across markets, and protecting IP when crossing jurisdictions. Practical tips: if travel or remote pitches are on your horizon between January and March, prepare 2 simple documents: a concise market test protocol and a basic confidentiality or memorandum of understanding. When a partner offers a pilot, define metrics for success before launch: conversion rate, retention, average deal size, and commit to a data review mid-pilot. Consider a modest working capital buffer for international transactions to cover currency timing and customs delays. Caveat: avoid betting your core reserves on unvetted markets.
The impulse to chase the horizon can lead to overextension if you neglect basic safeguards like contracts and contingency funds. Illustration: Raphael, a craft distiller, attends an industry fair in February and meets a distributor in another country. Rather than signing a full distribution agreement on the floor, he proposes a 3-month pilot with clear shipment schedules and a revenue split that scales with volume. The pilot validates demand in the summer, and by autumn he's negotiating a multi-year contract with negotiated fulfillment terms that protect his margins. The key was a measured step outward, not a leap without a net. Capricorn, build an unshakable system. January pruning, Feb to April growth curve, May expansion, autumn and November consolidation. Capricorn's language in 2026 is architecture. Interpreters of Edgar Cayce's readings indicate that disciplined pruning at the start of the year clears the way for systems that compound. This is the kind of season where rules, processes, and legal structure convert sweat into equity. For Capricorns, the long game pays when you do the groundwork early and resist the siren call of shortcuts. Types of opportunities: structured scaling, franchise models, licensed systems, securing long-duration contracts, high-leverage roles within institutions that value procedural excellence, disciplined asset accumulation. Inner attitude required: patient stewardship. Capricorns do well when they see themselves as stewards of a project that will outlast them. That mindset helps with decisions that favor structural integrity over immediate gratification. Practical tips: begin the year by auditing recurring expenses and income streams. Identify one system that, if automated or standardized, will unlock 30–40% more capacity. In late spring, consider a measured capital allocation to scale that system. Hire a fractional COO, license an operational platform, or institutionalize training manuals. Use November for consolidation. Revisit governance documents, refresh contracts, and set multi-year KPIs. Caveat: beware of rigidity. Your strength is structure, but excessive control can blind you to creative pivots that maintain stability while capturing new markets. Illustration: Eleanor runs a small chain of repair shops. In January, she cuts non-essential services, documents SOPs, and pilots a centralized scheduling system. By May, she's able to add a new location without needing a full-time manager on day one. Autumn contracts with a national fleet provide steady revenue, and the careful early pruning made expansion predictable, not precarious. Aquarius, commercialize innovation. Jan to March radical ideas, March breakthrough, summer recognition, fall global partnerships, August decisions on ownership. Aquarius in 2026 is about turning inventions into enterprises. Interpreters of Cayce's reading suggest that radical concepts introduced early in the year can breach into mainstream interest by spring.
The critical moments revolve around choices of ownership versus monetization. Will you monetize by selling the idea or by scaling and retaining control? Types of opportunities: tech or method licensing, crowdfunding for social innovation, partnerships with institutions seeking novel solutions, seed stage investment that pairs capital with distribution channels. Inner attitude required: principled pragmatism. Aquarians can be tempted to either hoard ideas or to give them away. The year asks for a moderated approach. Keep the integrity of the innovation while designing monetization strategies that preserve future freedom. Practical tips: prepare a basic intellectual property checklist. Is the idea patentable? Is it better protected by trademark or trade secret? When offers arrive in March, map 2 scenarios: equity partnership versus licensing, and model outcomes for both. If a partner offers capital in exchange for fast distribution, negotiate terms that allow you to scale pilots before relinquishing significant equity. In August, decide whether ownership or immediate reach matters more. That choice will color your financial future. Caveat: avoid a premature sale that hands others the ecosystem you might build. Conversely, resist the illusion that ownership equals profit without a plan to monetize at scale. Illustration. Noor, an engineer, prototypes a water purification unit in January. In March, a nonprofit offers distribution in exchange for majority rights. Noor proposes a licensing deal that lets the nonprofit scale in targeted regions, while she retains rights for commercial sales. Summer recognition follows a successful pilot, and by autumn her retained commercial rights begin to generate revenue that funds further R&D. Pisces. Follow the quiet tide. Jan-Feb small signal, March-April wave, May-June mentoring expand circle, fall stabilization, heart-led investments prosper. Pisces in 2026 favors subtlety. Interpreters of Cayce's readings suggest that small, almost invisible opportunities early in the year can swell into significant streams if tended with care. The arc is gentle. Small signals lead to a wave in spring. Mentoring or community building in early summer brings resources together, and by fall, a steady current may form. Types of opportunities: created licensing, faith-driven enterprises, mentor-supported funding, collaborative patronage models, artistic endeavors that find long-term patrons. Inner attitude required: disciplined receptivity. Pisces must combine intuition with guardrails, listen deeply but verify. Begin with low-cost tests and prioritize relationships that include clear expectations and mutual benefit. Practical tips: when a patron or mentor expresses interest, outline deliverables and a timeline. Convert informal support into formal arrangements with periodic reviews and mutually agreed milestones.
Use May-June to create a small community offering, a subscription, a patronage tier, or a collective workshop series, so that early supporters can turn into recurring revenue. Caveat: avoid mistaking spiritual validation for financial viability. Genuine alignment doesn't replace the need for contracts and clear deliverables. Illustration: Grace, a composer, receives a private commission in February. She gently turns the commission into a limited patronage model, offering behind-the-scenes content and quarterly performances. By June, a modest subscription funds regular creative work, and by autumn, she is able to hire a part-time manager. The income is not explosive, but it is reliable and aligned with her vision. Across the final signs, a few specific tactical motifs recur. First, phase deals. Whether you're buying a company or launching a course, prefer staged agreements, pilot to scale structures with predefined performance metrics. Second, create simple legal templates before you need them. A 4-paragraph NDA, a 1-page memorandum of understanding, a standard consulting agreement with core deliverables. Third, protect margins by modeling cash flow over time, not just headline revenue numbers. These steps are practical ways the interior readiness Cayce's interpreters repeatedly stress translates into external security. Now, a practical toolbox for the months ahead. 3 concrete preparations everyone can implement before their key window opens. First, audit and document. Spend 1 week mapping your core assets and liabilities. Create a 1-page inventory that lists revenue streams, top 3 customers or channels, recurring costs, and 2 immediate vulnerabilities, e.g. single supplier dependency, missing contracts. That single document becomes the lens through which you evaluate any new offer. Second, reserve and runway. Interpretations of Cayce's readings underscore caution alongside opportunity. Aim to build a reserve that covers 3 months of essential expenses at minimum. If you can reach 6 months, even better. This is not a fear-based hoard. It's a strategic buffer that gives you bargaining power and time to negotiate terms without desperation. Third, systematize the one process that most limits your growth. If response time kills deals, automate outreach templates and set a simple CRM. If fulfillment bottlenecks deliveries, identify one tool or hire that can free up the founder's time. The goal is to convert intermittent wins into reproducible outcomes. Ethical guidance and practical warnings must sit plainly with the inspiration. Interpretations of Edgar Cayce's readings suggest possible openings, but these are never guarantees. Treat this forecast as a map of possibilities, an invitation to prepare, not a promise that fortune will fall into your lap.
Always consult a qualified financial professional before making significant investments, and get legal review for any contracts that affect ownership or long-term obligations. Do not interpret spiritual guidance as a substitute for professional advice. A few more cautions worth repeating in direct language. Avoid concentrated bets on unvetted partners. Resist emotional signups that forfeit equity without measurable milestones. Never commit personal guarantees for business debts without clear understanding of risks. Generosity is a recurring motif in these readings, but practiced generosity must be paired with stewardship. Give in ways that lubricate ecosystems, referrals, time-limited discounts, community building, while ensuring your enterprise remains solvent. As the year's windows open, mental discipline will be as powerful as tactical skill. Practice 3 daily micro-habits to keep readiness alive. Check one contractual document you will need and improve it by one clause. Review your cash reserve tally for 2 minutes and write, in one sentence, the outcome you want from any new opportunity before you respond. These small rituals keep clarity present when the rush of offers arrives. Consider also the relational architecture around success. Many of Cayce's interpreters underlie the social nature of prosperity. Changes in station often travel through networks. Strengthening a handful of anchor relationships, a trustworthy advisor, a reliable collaborator, a pragmatic friend who asks the right hard questions, is as important as improving spreadsheets. Before a key month, set a brief conversation with 2 people who will be candid with you. Ask them, what could I be missing? And listen for the things that sting. Those are often the most valuable corrections. Now, a short list of common tactical moves keyed to months that recur across signs. These are not guarantees, only practical alignments for when momentum peaks. January, audit. Use the first month to inventory, prune, and document processes. February to April, test and formalize. This period often delivers fast offers. Treat them as pilots. Formalize successful pilots with simple contracts. May to June, invest in systems. If an opportunity scales, this is the moment to automate or hire. July to August, manage capacity. If demand spikes, focus on delegation, quality control, and margin protection. September to November, consolidate and negotiate. Convert short-term wins into durable agreements and revisit governance documents. December, reflect and plan. Use year-end clarity to update reserves, legal structures, and the 3-step growth plan for the next cycle. Throughout 2026, generosity remains a theme. Whether that's sharing a lead, offering mentorship, or giving away a small product to build trust, generosity often precedes reciprocal opportunity. But generosity must be bounded. Define the limits of free work and practice the phrase, I'd love to, and here are the terms.
That simple line preserves relationships while protecting capacity. Before we close, a direct ethical note delivered plainly. This forecast is an interpretation of Edgar Cayce's readings and not financial advice. It suggests possible windows and interior postures that may favor opportunity, but it cannot and does not promise outcomes. If you are considering investments, legal restructuring, or complex deals, consult qualified financial, tax, and legal professionals who can assess your specific circumstances. If a final, practical checklist will help you take action in the next 30 days, here it is in 6 clear steps you can implement now. 1. Create the one-page inventory. Spend a focused 2-hour session listing incomes, expenses, top dependencies, and 2 vulnerabilities. 2. Build or top up a reserve equal to 3 months of essential expenses. Automate transfers so the discipline is mechanical. 3. Draft a 1-page standard agreement for collaborations. If you don't have legal counsel yet, use a trusted template and plan for professional review when money is on the table. 4. Identify the single process that blocks your scale. Automate or delegate that process within 90 days. 5. Name 2 people who will give you honest feedback and schedule a brief call with each during your key months. 6. Write the 1-sentence outcome you want from any new opportunity before responding to it, and require at least 1 objective metric to decide success. The posture this forecast recommends is steady, not frantic. Interpretations of Edgar Cayce's readings point to a year where the external tides favor those who have done the inner work in advance. Courage without contracts, or enthusiasm without systems, often extinguishes opportunity as quickly as it produces it. Conversely, small acts of preparation, a clear contract, a modest reserve, a delegated task, transform momentary openings into durable structures. As we close, imagine alignment as a 3-part marriage: timing, inner readiness, and practical protection. Timing supplies the current. Inner readiness gives you the skill to catch it. Practical protection, contracts, reserves, systems, makes the ride sustainable. For some signs in 2026, Cayce's interpreter suggests the current will be stronger. For all signs, the question remains the same: will you be ready to receive it wisely? If this forecast resonated, take 1 immediate step. Pick the month that matters most to you from the tools above, and mark 1 concrete item on your calendar to complete before that month begins. Small preparatory acts compound. This has been an interpretive forecast based on readings attributed to Edgar Cayce, the American clairvoyant often called the sleeping prophet, and on contemporary readings by those who study his work. Remember, this is an interpretation and not financial advice. For personalized guidance about investments, taxes, or legal commitments, consult qualified professionals.
If you found insight in this exploration, consider subscribing to the channel for deeper, sign-specific guides and monthly updates that track how the year unfolds. For now, hold the image that many of these opportunities will not arrive as sudden jackpots, but as doors that open to those who have already prepared a room inside. Align your courage with clarity, your generosity with stewardship, and your vision with systems, And 2026 may reward not just ambition, but the care you bring to both heart and ledger.